I was never here.
Except, maybe I weren't blackouts. You're like, yes.
I think this is
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
So the debate started in August. August, September. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's the channel. I don't know. It's pretty well connected.
Yeah, I'll ask him. Do we have any real press here besides?
I think San Francisco is the area. So do you know folks on the campaign or? Oh, okay. Yeah, I know someone. I'm gonna put Andrew in touch with.
Has a press pass, you can take a photo. But I'm not asking. But if you need to take a photo, go ahead and take it. Yang gang, yang gang. We just have a small space. Also, if you want a photo, I can take Trump. Yang beats Trump. Yang beats Trump.
The Hicks up.
Hello, San Francisco. How are you? Awesome. Thank you guys all so much for coming out today. Look at this amazing crowd, this amazing view that we have. So, first of all, thank you to our San Francisco Yang Gang and volunteers for helping coordinate this. Awesome. Okay, so all of you guys have these amazing signs right here, these rally signs. Andrew Yang for President, Yang Gang, Math, Humanity First, like some other ones that people made. And Andrew's about to come up on stage in like 10 minutes. And he's going to say some really great things. He's going to talk a lot about numbers and data and statistics. And whenever he says the word math or mentions numbers, I need you guys, especially the ones with the math sign, to throw your signs in the air and yell math back at us, okay? So we're going to practice it. When I say math, you say math. When I say math, you say math. When I say math, you say math. Awesome. So whenever he says anything about numbers or statistics, you guys got it. Perfect. Now, we have a special guest performance. We have Kevin Cadigan of Third Eye Blind. He is a Bay Area native. He was the lead guitarist and helped write the album of their debut album. He's an original Yang Ganger, and he's going to come and perform a few songs. So here we go. Give it up for Kevin.
me through this. Tell me some kind of life. Baby, baby, I want some today. Sky was gold, I was taking sips over through my nose. I wish you could get back there, someplace back there. You were the best to lift you up until you break. Won't go down tick-tock, tick-tock rhythm. Take the heat that I was giving you, get in, get how do I get back there? Get me through this. Send me some kind of love. Baby, baby, I want I believe in the sound of your soul. These music feeling, I believe in it grow. Before I could make me cry. When I'm with you, feel like I can die. And that will be alright, alright. When the plane came up, the shit was crashing. Felt it flipped in the city, tripped on the dust, feeling alive. Now I'm struggling to survive. Hey, you wearing that velvet dress? Your Grease case that was through dust. Little red pennies, they passed the test. Around the belly, face down on the mattress, one. Broken, you were broken. I wanted to just a little now feel myself hanging off the ground. I'm scared I'm not coming down. No, no. Oh, sorry. She's got the jaws down, locked down in a smile. Nothing is alright. Alright. I wanted you now. Get me through this life. Baby, I want you, yeah. So when you say
Before my time. I know all.
goodbye,
Yeah, I am a
Sky was gold, it was rose, I was taking sips of it through my nose. I wish you could get back there, someplace back there, smile, pictures taken. Gang 2020! From an artist's perspective, the freedom dividend would be the single most profound thing that ever happened to the creation of arts in history. Remember the Beatles? We would have the Beatles created right here in America every year. I guarantee it. A band of 5 people, 4 people coming together, that's 4,000, 5,000 a month, what they could do. They decided to pursue their dreams. It would have come in handy when we were making this record. The Third Eye Blind debut album would have been a double record. But some of you are going, wait a minute, let's rethink that. No, I'm just kidding. It's an incredible honor to be here to support Andrew Yang. I'm so grateful that he opened my eyes to a new paradigm, a new way of looking at all of this. And I can't go back. I can't go back. Wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
You guys have audio? You guys have audio? You have audio still?
Yeah.
And if you do not
Hold on.
want to
Let me check.
see again, I would understand. I would understand. It's on the table, it's done.
No.
Think
Audio, no
anyone
audio.
knows what
So they're messed up.
doing here.
Everyone did?
Your friends have left you, you've been dismissed. I never thought you'd come to this night. I want you to know everyone has to face down the demon.
Did you lose audio?
Yeah,
Make
audio
it
off.
today.
Everybody.
You can put the past away. I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. Cut ties with all the lies that you've been living. If you do not want to
Alright, it's
see
back.
me again, I would understand. Sing with me. I would understand. Now the first verse. The angry boy has been too insane. I see over a secret thing.
Yeah.
You know you don't belong. You're way too loud. You're a flash of light on a burial shroud. I know something's wrong. Everyone I know has got a reason to say, put the past away. I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you've been living. If you do not want to see me again, I would understand. I would understand. I would understand.
Hillary,
Yes.
can you ask the people who are sitting on the riser not to make a lot of movement?
Just ask them to just get off.
Well, it's up to you. It's your call.
This riser.
Yeah, this riser.
Yeah.
You're welcome, man.
I'm out on audio again.
Audio's out.
Oh, he's doing something to it.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, you're the man because I'm on a
Good
recorder.
shots.
You got it back. You're the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, I got it. I'll let you know if it cuts.
Be alright, my
It's back now.
Thank you.
you be alright. Be alright, my friend. You be alright. Be alright, my friend.
All the time. Is that because of the stage?
Finally, turn down the ND.
Yes.
No more sun.
Yeah.
That's so much better.
Yeah.
In a moment, I can take off my lenses.
I can actually see.
I had to find a charger.
All right, so I was so inspired by Andrew Yang's awesomeness that I decided to write a song. So I'll debut it right now. I know that we can do this. Say the fathers do this. Your blue eyes have seen the place. You're not the only one. Waking up to the truth now. With your arms strong, your pockets will be full. And all the tends to go. You're free. Differences are not dividing everyone. Waking up to the truth now. Wave your arms and strong. Pockets will be full, my friend, and you will carry on. It's all free, freedom. Freedom. honor of welcoming to the stage the next President of the United States. You all are incredible! How beautiful is this group today? As far as the eye can see, you don't look like the internet to me. You know what you look like? You look like human fucking beings! It is so great to be back here in San Francisco. This is something of my adoptive hometown. My parents met at UC Berkeley. So you can say I owe my entire existence to the Bay Area. They met at Berkeley, and my brother is named after the Lawrence Observatory. So we used to joke that my parents must have had a good time at that observatory. My parents wanted to stay here because who wouldn't, honestly? Can you imagine immigrating from Asia, landing in the Bay Area in Berkeley? Of course you'd want to stay. But my dad ended up getting a job at GE in Schenectady, New York, where I was born. So I was born in upstate New York. That's one reason why I always feel a kinship, like a homecoming here, because my brother was born here, my parents met here, and I spent a lot of time here over the last number of years. You all represent the future of this country. So the question is, how are we going to make this a future we're actually excited about? And we have some ideas, do we not, Yang Gang? We have a lot of ideas as to how we can make this a future worth getting excited about. But first we have to start digging into the problems and explain to the rest of the country what the heck is happening. Why the heck is Donald Trump our president today?
The system's broken.
If you turned on cable news today, why would you think that that man is our president? You would think he's our president because of Russia, Facebook, FBI, immigrants, racism, Hillary Clinton, emails, all mixed together into some kind of really odd brew. But I'm a numbers guy, San Francisco. And the numbers tell a very clear and distinct story that the reason why Donald Trump won in 2016 is this, that we'd automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs, most of which were based in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, and Iowa, all the swing states that Donald Trump needed to win and did win. And now, you all know this better than most anyone in the entire country. Now what happened to the manufacturing jobs will shift to retail jobs, call center jobs, fast food jobs, truck driving jobs, and on through the economy. Amazon alone is closing 30% of America's stores and malls and soaking up $20 billion in business every single year. Yeah, this is how they suck up money. This is the universal symbol for sucking up money. How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year? Yes, they paid less in taxes than everyone here today. How the heck is that possible?
Trump.
And I want you all to imagine the scene. I want you to imagine Jeff in his conference room and the accountants file in and the CFO's there. And then they say, Jeff, great news. We're paying 0 in taxes again this year. And then then what does Jeff say? Jeff strokes his chin and then he says, excellent. Then he goes to the vault, because apparently there's a vault in every conference room in Amazon. He goes to the vault, he brings out bags of gold coins and he gives them to everyone. And then the accountants take the gold coins, they put them in their vehicles, they drive home, and then they do one of these like gold coin baths like Scrooge McDuck in the old cartoons. You know what I'm talking about? Is it their fault that they're paying zero in taxes? No, it is our fault. We have to be pretty stupid to have a system where Amazon, $1 trillion tech company, pays zero in taxes. Am I right, San Francisco? And it's not just Amazon, it's Netflix, it's Google, it's Facebook, it's all of the big tech companies that are frankly too smart for our government. They are too smart to get stuck with a tax bill. So what do? They move it through Ireland. They say, hey, we're going to invest in new businesses and make sure we don't have any profits at the end of the year. We're going to pay all of our executives in stocks. Now, this is not their fault. This is our fault that we have a system that's so easy to game. Now you think, like, how the heck did Amazon pay zero in taxes? It must have been magic. No, I pretty much just listed it. It's not even that complex. So we have to build a mechanism that actually gives us a fair share of the 21st century economy. Am I right, San Francisco? I'm talking about how Amazon's getting rid of stores and malls around the country. I'm going to have some fun and just to try to figure out where you all are from. How many of you are from California? I figured as much, but there are some people who are from the Midwest. Go ahead, raise your hands. Yes, I know it. How about the South? How about the Northeast like me? What'd I leave out? Mid-Atlantic? I think that's a thing. Now, if you're from these other parts of the country, you see the stores drying up, and being a retail clerk is the most common job in most of the country. The average retail clerk is a 39-year-old woman making between $9 and $10 an hour. So what is she going to do after her store or mall closes? There will be tears shed, unfortunately. When you all call the customer service line of a big company and you get the software or bot, I'm sure you do the same thing I do. You dial 000, say human, until you get someone on the line. Am I right? But in 2 or 3 short years, we all know the software is going to sound something like this. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? What can I do for you? It'll be fast, efficient, a little bit sexy, perhaps. What is this going to mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work in call centers right now making $14 an hour?
Zip. Fired.
How many of you saw that beautiful truck over there that says Truckers for Hire? I mentioned the driver of that truck at the last debate. Where's Fred? Oh, there's Fred.
The man, Andrew! No one can stop him! He's the greatest human being of all time!
If that's true, it's because I know the greatest trucker of all time. So Fred knows that being a trucker is the backbone of so many communities around the country. It's the most common job in 29 states. There are 3.5 million truckers like Fred around the United States. Average age, 49, 94% men. What are they going to do when the companies here in the Bay Area successfully have trucks on the highways that don't need a driver?
Starve.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what we have to prevent from happening, San Francisco. That's right. And I want to go through it a little bit because I know you understand these issues. The reason why we are trying so hard to automate truck driving is primarily the money. We all know that's what makes America tick. $168 billion a year in potential cost savings if they can automate away Fred and the 3.5 million truckers around the country. $168 billion a year is a lot of money. That's enough where you can make all sorts of things happen, including hiring hundreds of the smartest engineers in the country to work on solving this problem.
And the folks who are in the know tell me that they are 98% of the way there right now. Now that sounds very high, but you can't have semi-trucks smashing into things 2% of the time.
Right.
That's problematic. But the robot trucks are on the highways right now in Arizona, and UPS just invested. We're looking at 5 to 10 years before they start hitting the highways in earnest. And only 13% of the truckers, like Fred, are in unions. 87% are like Fred, where they run their own businesses. Many of them took out tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans to lease trucks. So imagine having your life savings tied up in, let's call it 4 trucks, and then you start seeing robot trucks hit the highways. And the robot trucks never need to stop. You need to stop after 14 hours to get out and go to sleep and have a meal. And that's not even your choice. I mean, thank goodness that you have to get out after 14 hours because you don't want a trucker like on the road, like, 24/7. But the trucks actually will seize up and stop the driver from driving past the 14-hour mark. And so when they see the robot trucks, they never need to stop. It's going to seem like the end of an era. What brought Donald Trump into office is actually accelerating, picking up steam right now. We're in the midst of the greatest transformation in the history of our country, what experts are calling the 4th Industrial Revolution. And when is the last time you heard a politician say the words 4th Industrial Revolution, San Francisco? Just now, that's right. And I am barely a politician. I can't even go to sleep without a crowd of thousands chanting my name anymore. I have to say, one reason why it feels like such a homecoming when I come back here is our first big raucous rally of thousands was right here in San Francisco. And I came out that day and I said, wow, we are up to something huge. And as usual, you all lit the way, and I can't thank you enough. So I am barely a politician. I'm getting the hang of it though. I'm a fast learner. I still haven't really gotten the lying part down pat. My wife and I laugh about me becoming a politician. She's like, you would be the shittiest politician of all time. Because you have the worst poker face. Like when you're lying, it like pains you so like obviously. And one of the reasons I know that is when I proposed to Evelyn, I had the ring on the trip. And I was like, make the shittiest secret agent of all time, because I had this thing, and it felt like it was like burning a hole in my pocket. Anyway. My first move was not to run for president. My first move was to go to our leaders in Washington, D.C. and say, hey, we are scapegoating immigrants for problems that immigrants have nothing to do with. What are we going to do to let our country know that this is not immigrants, this is technology and automation, and how can we help us all manage the 4th Industrial Revolution? And what do you think the folks in DC said to me when I asked, what are we going to do? Don't talk about it. Number 1, we cannot talk about that. That was verbatim from some guy. Number 2, we should study that. And number 3, we must educate and retrain all Americans for the jobs of the future. Only a Yang Gang rally would boo that shit. But you're totally right to boo it, because it's total nonsense. And I know because I looked at the numbers, San Francisco. But more than the numbers, I spent 7 years helping create thousands of jobs in Detroit, Cleveland, St. Louis, Birmingham, New Orleans, Baltimore, and cities around the country, and I came face to face with the aftermath of the automation of the manufacturing jobs. Detroit is a city with a peak population of 1.7 million. Now it is down to 680,000. And when you go to Detroit, you can see a thriving neighborhood in one direction, and then you just turn 90 degrees, and you see desolation and despair as far as the eye can see. Confirmed, he said. So I saw the aftermath, and when I looked at the numbers, I saw that government-funded retraining programs had a success rate of 0 to 15%. That's a total fail by any measurement, no matter what the curve is. You'd be like, yeah, I did 15%. That's not an A. That's an F. And when I said that to the folks in DC, you know what they said to me? They said, I guess we'll get better at it. That's what passes for policy out of Washington, D.C., San Francisco. And one person there said something to me that brought me here to you all today. He said, Andrew, no one in this town is going to do anything about this because this is not a town of leaders, this is a town of followers. And the only way we will do anything about it here in D.C. is if you create a wave in other parts of the country and bring that wave crashing down on our heads. Today. We are the wave. You are the wave. We have to rewrite the rules of the economy in the 21st century to work for us, the owners and shareholders of this country. I said to that man, I will be back. That's like Arnold. I'll be like, I'll be back. And he was like, sure you will. Oh man, now he's seeing it. Now he's seeing it. He turns on his TV and is like, holy cow. That guy really is coming back. So the question is, what are we going to come back with for this wave? What is the vision that we need to take to the rest of the country as quickly as possible? I appreciate the love, but the vision's not Andrew Yang, because that's not actually, it's like here you go. The way most Americans found out about this campaign is what she just said. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. And the first time you heard that, you were like, that's a gimmick, that's a joke, that will never happen. But this is not Andrew Yang's idea. This is a deeply American idea in our DNA. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country. He called it the citizen's dividend. Martin Luther King fought for it in the 1960s, called it the guaranteed minimum income, and it is what he was fighting for on the day he was assassinated in 1968. Why don't we celebrate that on his birthday every year? Instead, somehow we've sanitized Martin Luther King's message when what he was fighting for was an end to poverty. And that was his mission in 1968 when he was assassinated. But he was not alone. 1,000 economists endorsed a minimum income, including Milton Friedman. It was so mainstream that it passed the U.S. House of Representatives in 1971. 3 years after Martin Luther King gets assassinated, it goes in front of the Congress and passes the House twice. It's called the Family Assistance Plan. Guarantees a certain income for every American family under Richard Nixon, of all people. Came this close to being law. And you know why it failed in the Senate? Because Democrats at the time wanted a higher income threshold. And I talked to someone who worked in Democratic politics at that time, and he said, he's old now, he's like, he's an older gentleman. And he said it was the biggest mistake we ever made. He said we should have just taken that deal, and then every American family would have had a guaranteed income floor from 1971 until today. Can you imagine how that would have changed the course of history?
Oh, yeah.
That would have changed the lives of hundreds of millions of Americans from then to now. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? Alaska. And how does Alaska pay for it? Oil. And what is the oil of the 21st century, San Francisco? Technology, that's right. AI, marijuana. It's not AI and marijuana, though I do like me some marijuana. Not really on a personal consumption level, but just on a societal level. We need to legalize weed as quickly as possible. Artificial intelligence, software, self-driving cars and trucks, big data. A study just came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. Did you see that? Yeah. Raise your hand if you saw that study. Keep your hand up if you got your data check in the mail. Where the hell did the data check go?
Google!
It went to Facebook, Amazon, Google, and the biggest tech companies that are profiting to the tune of billions of dollars off of our data. And I say that our data is our property, and it should be ours to share and gain from the profits. Am I right? And you all understand the set of issues more than just about anyone in the country. We made a trade with the tech companies, and we said, hey, take it, it's yours. None of us actually read that crazy boilerplate. We just say, I agree, I agree. It's just like dialing 000. It's like, I agree, I agree. And then you hope for the best. And what happens is that the big tech companies now sell and resell and repackage our data over and over again. We're none the wiser. We don't know what's happening. We don't know how much money they're making off it. And then every once in a while you see that Yahoo got breached or someone else got breached. And then what do we all think? Oh, do I have to change my password? That's what we all think, right? This is the way we interact with our data now. It's happening behind the scenes. But I talk to people on the inside, and sometimes our data is worth thousands of dollars per user, and we're seeing not a dime of it. And this is not just an economic injustice. This is actually something fundamental to humanity. There was a woman here in the Bay Area that told me that we're being deprived of our data dignity.
Yep.
It started out as a trade of convenience, but now it has becoming something much more profound. It's becoming that we are losing our very agency. That we go and we interact with the world in a particular way, and then we're bombarded with messages from tech companies that in some ways know us better than our family members know us. You know, and then you think you're going down a particular direction, but you're getting like bombarded with all of these messages that are helping drive you in that direction. And over a massive population of millions of people, this controls the course of history. We have to take our data back for the future of humanity. And sometimes when I talk to people about this, I get some of the dumbest objections. Where they're like, hey, if the data is ours and the tech companies have to pay us all, how would they actually like administer that? Isn't that complex? And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, it's like, let's say it was in reverse, that we had to pay the tech company. Would anyone be complaining about the complexity? Would anyone be like, oh, it's too hard for us to like bust out our credit cards and like give it to the company? You know, of course not. But when it's the money coming our way, it's like, oh no, too complicated. So dumb. We are outgunned by these companies. We're just human beings living our lives, trying to hang out with our friends and our family. And then the tech companies are getting more and more powerful. And you know what you would need? You would need an effective government to balance the scales. But that is not what we have, San Francisco. We have this decades behind the curve government that does not understand technology in the least. And we know that from a few things. Number one, we got rid of the Office of Technology Assessment in 1995. I guess they figured we'd invented everything by then. They were like, oh, it's 95. Nothing new is gonna come out. Let's get rid of that. And you all saw the testimony when Mark Zuckerberg showed up to Congress. He got like the most dumb questions imaginable. You remember that? Not this time, but the time before. They got a little bit better this new time. But it's not like these visits were surprises. It's not like he showed up and it was like, hey, and they were like, oh, I gotta think of a smart question. Those questions were prepared weeks in advance by their staff. And they were asking stupid questions like, you're laughing because it's true. They were asking stupid questions like, how does Facebook make money? You remember that? These are our lawmakers. They're decades behind the curve. I gotta say, a lot of them have never read an email in their lives. Oh, you know, he's nodding. It's true. It's true. I know this. I know teams. They're actually dedicated staffers that like read their emails to them. Do we want a government where people have never read an email? Oh, we need a government of 2019 and 2020 to solve the problems of today. Am I right, San Francisco? So this freedom dividend, it is not my idea. It is a deeply American idea. It has been with us from the beginning. In Alaska, they call this the oil check, and they love it. We're going to call this the tech check, and all of America's going to love it. Because in real life, after I'm president and we all have this dividend in our accounts, how will we spend the money in real life? Where will it go? I think someone yelled marijuana. It will go to college, it will go to daycare expenses, it will go to local businesses. How much of it would stay around where we live?
All of it.
Most all of it. This is the trickle-up economy from our people, our families, and our communities up. And we know that this would work. We have to rewrite the rules of the 21st century so that they work for us. Let's go! $1,000 a month would make us all stronger, healthier, mentally healthier, less stressed out, would improve our decision making, would improve our relationships, would decrease domestic violence, it would decrease hospital visits. This is the economy that we can create for ourselves, in large part because the market now is a terrible determinant of how much we're worth. There might have been some time decades ago where it sort of made sense, but it does not make sense today. Here are things that the market either values at zero or undervalues very systematically. Parenting, caregiving, nurturing, arts, creativity, volunteering, journalism, and very, very often in our country, unfortunately, women and underrepresented minorities, people of color. The market is turning on us all, it's zeroing us out. And I'm saying around the country, it does not matter if Fred is an excellent, hardworking, industrious truck driver or not. The robot truck can outcompete him either way. It doesn't matter if the radiologist really studied hard in med school and references as many films as they can. The artificial intelligence can see shades of gray on the film that the human eye cannot, and can reference millions of data points, much more than any human doctor. We are confusing in this country economic and human value, and it threatens to destroy us.
I'll keep an eye on
We have to let people know that we have value regardless of what the market is saying. This is an economy that would actually work for us, that we'll be proud to pass along to our kids. And the measurements of today are leading us in the wrong direction. Right now, GDP's at record highs. Also at record highs in the United States of America are stress levels, anxiety, mental illness, student loan debt, financial insecurity, even suicides and drug overdoses. It has gotten so bad that life expectancy in the United States of America has declined for 3 years in a row because suicides and drug overdoses have gone to record unprecedented levels and have overtaken vehicle deaths for the first time in American history. You all know the last time America's life expectancy declined 3 years in a row? I sense there's some yang gang here. Because you know it was the Spanish flu of 1918, a global pandemic 100 years ago that killed millions of people. That's the last time American life expectancy declined for 3 years in a row. This is in part because it is highly unusual for life expectancy to decline in a developed country at all. That is not normal. We are at a different point in American history, and yet we're getting beaten over the head by the fact that GDP is at record highs. And one thing I've been saying around the country, how much is my wife's work taking care of our 2 boys, one of whom is autistic? How much of that is included in GDP every year? Zero, and we know that is the opposite of the truth. Am I right, San Francisco? And I'm very happy to say Evelyn is going to be hitting the trail with me starting next week in Iowa. And if you think that I've got some things going for me, holy crap, wait until you see Evelyn. You'll be like, forget about Andrew. On Evelyn, and it's true, she's a powerhouse, she's so badass, and when America meets her, they're going to find out just how lucky a man I am. And I know that her work is among the most challenging and vital work being done at any point in the economy, certainly more valuable than the work of the average hedge fund manager or management consultant, or like I was for 5 unhappy months, a corporate lawyer. No offense to any lawyers here, it's cool, I get it. But I used to call my old law firm a temple to the squandering of human potential. And it's true, because you had some very, very bright people doing some really shitty work. So if GDP is at record highs and our life expectancy is heading the other direction, I would suggest to you all that maybe GDP doesn't get it right. Instead of GDP, we should be measuring how we are doing. Things like our own health and life expectancy. How about our own mental health and freedom from substance abuse? How about childhood success rates? How about proportion of elderly Americans who can retire with dignity? How about clean air and clean water? These are the true measurements of progress in the 21st century. And as your president, I will be thrilled to tear up GDP and say this is 100 years old, it is out of date, and we are going to modernize to a scorecard that includes the things that are important to us. And then I'll present the real measurements to you all every year at the State of the Union. I'll be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck at the State of the Union. To do it. And we're going to have a contest to figure out which font is I'm going to use. And while I'm on the topic, we have to fight climate change yesterday. And we see what's going on right here in the Bay Area. You have rolling blackouts because of rampant wildfires. And you are looking around, you're saying, what is going on? I thought I lived in the United States of America, the most advanced country in the world, and we have rolling blackouts because of potential wildfires? And let's trace the steps. Why the heck are these wildfires happening?
Climate change.
It's true, there are 4 words, P, G, and D. I think those are technically words. A letter's a word, actually, if you do it like that. But PG&E is an emblem. We know exactly what their incentives are. Their incentives are to cut corners and try and make as much money as possible for their shareholders. So what happens? They're like, maybe we don't need to maintain that jumper so much. And it's like, let's just make the check schedule like a little bit longer. Let's make the replacement schedule a little bit longer. Let's see if we can maintain the shelf life of this equipment like a little longer than it's intended. And we're supposed to replace it. Maybe if we just put some duct tape on it, it'll be all right. And then you cut corners long enough, and then we all pay the price. Am I right?
Yeah.
That is an emblem of what's happening in our country today. Everything revolves around the almighty dollar. If you're a PG&E executive, you don't get paid based upon our well-being or the uptime. You get paid based upon whether you can cut corners successfully enough to add another couple dimes to the bottom line. That's how your bonus is paid. And I say enough is enough. What do you think, San Francisco? Yeah. The other reason why these wildfires are breaking out is that climate change has raced ahead of everything we're doing. We are only maintaining less than 10% of the national forest the way that experts say we should be. And as the earth has gotten warmer, it has turned our national forests and trees around the country into essentially tinder boxes. essentially wildfires waiting to happen. Now this might not sound sexy, but I'm proposing we quintuple the U.S. Forest Service so that we can actually maintain our forests. This is 2019 and you see the needs are shooting up, but then does our government follow suit? No, of course not. They're like, oh, what did we do last year? Let's do that again this year. It just keeps on going and then the needs just shoot on up. So as president, I say we actually modernize the way we manage our forest. And you know we could do so much more in terms of certainly manpower on the ground, but also technology, heat sensors, drones with fire retardant materials. Like we need to essentially stick technology on our forests in a way that would keep us safer and make it so that you can live your lives without having to worry about wildfires or rolling blackouts or PG&E and this nonsense. This is an emblem of what's gone wrong in the United States. Our government has failed, capitalism is failing us, and it's up to us to do better. This is the vision that we can take to the rest of the country as quickly as possible. And you all are in a very special place here in San Francisco because all of you have friends who ask you what the future is going to look like. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, well, you know, you would know. And sometimes they ask you, it's like, hey, do you live in utopia or dystopia here in San Francisco?
Somewhere in between.
And you change your mind about that on the regular. You know what I mean? Like you do something, you're like, oh, definitely utopia. Then you're like, oh, definitely dystopia. Like same day. I get it. I've spent time here too. I've lived here for months of the year for the last 6 or 7 years. You all see the future coming, and it is up to you to take the country in a better direction. Now, California is not used to this, but you're going to have a vital role in determining who the next president of the United States is. I think you're looking at him, San Francisco. We can compete and win right here in California, am I right? I get along with Kamala, but there was one poll that had me out-polling Kamala right here in California. Your voting got moved up. This is very, very new to you, California, because ordinarily by the time it comes to you, the nomination has been decided. So you don't really know what this is like. But this time, you got moved up to Super Tuesday. You're going to be the 5th state to vote on the whole thing. And this race will not be decided by state number 5. I can virtually guarantee you that. You're gonna make your voice heard. Now, if you're not that into politics, let's try to do this. This will be fun. What's the first state to vote? Iowa. Some of you are like, oh. Number 1 is Iowa. What's number 2? What's number 3? Nevada. I know, that's a tricky one. That'll get you every time. And what's number 4? And what's number 5? That's right. You're going to have your chance to make your voice heard. Early voting starts in California 1 month early. So you can actually vote the same time as Iowa. Are you guys going to vote in February for the Yang Gang? Get your votes in early because those votes are count just like anyone else's, and then you can invite your friends and say, hey, we've got a month to rack up the vote by the time March 3rd rolls around, Super Tuesday. Like, we could be up to hundreds of thousands of voters before the polls even open on March 3rd. What do you think? Yeah. Iowa next week for something called Yangapalooza. I don't know if you heard about it. And Weezer's coming out and playing a concert in Des Moines. So we're gonna fight it out in Iowa, we're gonna fight it out in New Hampshire, we're gonna do great in Nevada. I just came from there, and man, the Nevadans love this. In part because Nevada is #1 in the entire country for the proportion of jobs that are gonna get swallowed up by technology. And if you think about the Nevada economy, the major employers, hospitality,
And trucks.
gaming, retail, call centers, transportation, warehouse and fulfillment. It's the highest proportion of jobs in the country that are going to get blasted away by automation. And they know it. MGM just fired hundreds of workers and then brought in robot bartenders in their casinos. Now you boo, but we all know that the robot bartenders are pretty cool. The truth is that tourists kind of prefer them. They're like, hey, check out this robot bartender. And then they do a little video with themselves being like, check it out, it made me the drink. The robot bartenders cost about $250,000. So MGM looks up and says, $250,000. That will get me paid back in approximately, let's call it like 5-6 years. And they're like, done. Do you think MGM's going to be the last casino to make that move? No. No, because we live in a system where everything revolves around the bottom line of the almighty dollar. We are going to outperform in Nevada. We're gonna do awesome in South Carolina, and then we're gonna bring the football to you here in California. So this is new for you all, but you can make a massive difference in the course of our country's history. And as a matter of fact, the history of the entire species. Because if we take this vision, and I want you all to imagine it with me, the rest of the world right now is looking up being like, what the heck happened to the United States of America? Donald Trump, it's like a time warp. It's heading back in time. And I want you all to imagine in 2021 with President Andrew Yang, the rest of the world will be like, they turned that around in a hurry.
Yankees Trump! Yankees Trump!
That's right, Andrew Yang beats Donald Trump.
Yankees Trump! Yankees Trump! Yankees Trump! Yankees Trump!
If this is a game of rock, paper, scissors, Donald Trump is a pair of scissors and I am the fucking rock, San Francisco! And if you ask Democrats around the country, what's their #1 criteria for the nominee? Beat Donald Trump, that's right. And if you look at the numbers, you see that I am peeling off thousands of disaffected Trump voters. Republicans, libertarians, independents, as well as Democrats and progressives. I can build a much broader coalition to beat Donald Trump in 2020. Democrats around the country are thinking, who's going to beat Trump? Who's going to beat Trump? They have not figured out yet that Andrew Yang is going to beat Trump. Are we not, San Francisco? You can see it really clearly. The numbers are just going up and up to the right. And I want to walk through a little bit of why the polls do not actually measure our true strength as a movement. Raise your hand if you've been part of a political poll. Not many hands go up in this crowd. Most people that get polled get called on a landline. You shouldn't really boo landlines. I mean, it's not like, that's like booing like steam engines or something. What's a landline? This young person, exactly. So there are 3 things that have to happen for you to get polled. #1, you have a landline. #2, you're a registered Democrat, generally in one of the early states. And #3, you actually have to pick up that landline and have a conversation with a pollster. The Yang Gang and landlines don't really overlap that much. And many of the people that are supporting our campaign are not registered Democrats. I suspect that applies to some of the people here in this crowd today. So the polls, even though they're going up and up, they do not measure our true strength. We are much stronger than the polls suppose. We see it, we feel it. Whenever I go to the early states, people are like, wow, this is a much bigger crowd than they thought. And I was like, I'm done being surprised now. Like now, you know, we go, like, I'm not surprised by anything anymore in this campaign. When America wakes up to the fact that I am as sure a bet as any candidate in the field, we're just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and then change the course of history and shock the world come February. Donald Trump's our president in part because he got some of the problems right. He said he was going to make America great again. And then what did Hillary Clinton say in response? America's already great. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
And that was not the right answer. Oh no, I remember that. Yeah. I'm going to go down this road for a second. It's fun. Tajir shouted out, she said that the DNC backed Hillary, and it's true they did. There's a chance that Bernie Sanders could have been the nominee last time if the DNC had kneecapped the crap out of him. Like everyone here, I was thrilled to see Bernie Sanders so freaking strong and healthy at the last debate. He was running for president. You actually hang out with the other candidates in the green rooms and at the fish fry and at the union halls. So we actually have like a bit of like a social circle going. I actually get text messages from some of the other candidates every once in a while. And I text them too. You know, we what do they say? She yelled, can I be your VP? I just want to give a shout out to that sign that says year-round daylight savings. I think we should pick one time and stick to it. What do you think, San Francisco? The fact is, when we switch back and forth by even that hour, it actually kills Americans because you're actually a little screwed up, you drive worse, and then there's like a spike in accidents that day. How many of you knew that? Yeah. And we feel it. That 1 hour screws us all up, am I right? And I say at this point, we have to acknowledge we're not a freaking agricultural economy anymore. Just pick one time and stick to it. For the sake of our kids, please. So the DNC did stick it to Bernie. I am now pals with some of the other candidates. We do have really fun, informal conversations. They haven't gotten around to asking me to be my running mate just yet, but it's coming, am I right? But the DNC this time, they actually are trying to create as even a playing field as possible. It's one reason why, as long as we keep performing, we're going to make every single debate between now and when voting starts. I already made the November debate, and I am pumped up for it. And I'll say too, I'm getting more and more comfortable up there. I hope you can feel it, Yang Gang. Well, that first time I made a mistake of thinking it was actually a debate. And what was I thinking indeed? But I am a fast learner. And now I know exactly what I need to do up there, and I'm going to perform every single time. But I can't do it without you all. I need you to commit to a few things. Number one, raise your hand if you know someone in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, or South Carolina. Raise your hand. Think about it for a sec. If you know that person, I need you to email them or text them or call them and say, hey, have you heard about Andrew Yang? Even if it's someone you haven't talked to in a while. It's going to be sort of an odd conversation. You're going to call and be like, hey, long lost cousin. It's been a long time. I'm going to make small talk with you a little bit. I'm going to ask you about your family I've never met. And then I'm going to be like, hey, have you heard about Andrew Yang? So number one, I need to reach out to your long-lost cousins, friends, and relatives in one of the early states. Can you do that, San Francisco? Number two, I need you to keep doing what you've been doing, which is spread the message to other people throughout your networks and around the country, because people know that you are closest to the pulse of what will happen in the future than anyone else they know. And so if you send them, how many of you had this experience where you send someone an Andrew Yang video or something like that, and then they ignore it for a little while, but then they come back around days or even weeks later and are like, hey, I saw that Andrew Yang guy. Raise your hand if you had that experience. I need you to double down and keep doing that until you get all of your friends Yang. Can you do that for me, San Francisco? And the last thing I need you to do is to ride people and let them know that here in California, you all are going to decide who the next president of the United States is. And you can vote as early as the first week of February, and then we have an entire month to run up the score. So I know you have friends here in California that are not used to participating in either the political process or presidential elections. I need you to let them know that what you do in February and March can change the course of history for our country, for our world. We can build an economy that works for us. We can do what should have been done decades ago on climate change. We can start measuring our mental health as a key element of our country's progress. We can redefine our economy so that it revolves around our health and our values. But this will not be possible without all of you. I need your help, San Francisco. Let's make history together. Donald Trump's our president in part because he got some of the problems right. The issue is that his solutions were the opposite of what we need. His solutions were, we're going to build a wall, we're going to turn the clock back, we're going to bring the old jobs back. The country needs us to show a new path. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society as quickly as possible for the 21st century. We have to evolve in how we think about ourselves and our work and our value. And I am the ideal man for that job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Let's make history, San Francisco. Make America think harder, that's right. All we do is win, San Francisco. I love you. Okay. And I will see you in the White House in 2020. Thank you. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to talk to some of the cameras so we can get the message out, and then I'll do my best to get some pictures and some selfies.
I see you. Look out. Okay, good job.
Head on
have a heads up.
Tripods are, but that's a camera thing. Like, where's the light?
No, I'm in the platform. I'm standing up. I look like in the platform behind the right behind the suit. I know. Look, there's a right behind them. Look behind the stage. Look up on the top. Look to the left. I don't know. See the size of that's given.